Good morning, everyone. This is Deb Henton, the Executive Director of the Minnesota Association of School Administrators. We welcome all of you to attend this event. We have not only MASA members on the call, and we know we have 6 different component groups. So we have everyone from special ed directors to superintendents and technology leaders and central office folks, to others that belong to MASA. And we were very pleased to open up this session to our colleagues in the Principals Association. So welcome MASSP members and MESPA members. We are glad that you will join us in this session about cyber trends. And with that, so that you have as much time as possible for this presentation and hopefully some Q&A at the end, I will introduce Peter Kaplan, who will talk a little bit and then introduce our presenters for the day. So please enjoy this session and know that it's being recorded. We will have many other participants joining, as I think we had 118 registered. So again, welcome and enjoy the presentation.
Deb, thank you for hosting this. This is an incredibly important and timely conversation. And my name is Peter Kaplan. I'm one of the public sector directors here at Fortinet. And most of this presentation, we will be talking about and demoing the free cybersecurity and awareness training. Just very briefly, I want to talk about who Fortinet is and talk about some trends that we're seeing tied to this important topic. So who is Fortinet? We are we're an equipment manufacturer. We're a cybersecurity and networking equipment manufacturer. And for the last 20 plus years, our mission has been to secure people, devices, and data everywhere. And just to give you a snapshot of our sort of global presence, we are on the S&P 500. We're on the NASDAQ 100, and we do have a global footprint. We're a global company. We have nearly 12,000 employees. We have well over
Peter, you just went.
Peter, you just went mute.
I apologize. We serve the largest corporations globally, as well as very important public sector customers, such as state and local governments, as well as higher education institutions, and of course, school districts. This is something that we've been developing for well over 20 years. What we've called our Fortinet Security Fabric, and it's our mesh architecture. I'm not getting into the specifics about the technical aspects, but Gartner, which is an industry-wide publication, recently released some standards tied to what they recommend the public sector get in terms of the architecture. And they specifically state an architectural approach designed to create a collaborative ecosystem of security tools operating beyond the traditional perimeter. And again, that's exactly what the Fortinet Mesh Security Fabric does. And this was just a very brief introduction to who we are. We are the most deployed firewall equipment manufacturer globally. Over 1/3 of all the firewall shipments are tied to Fortinet. So, what are we seeing in terms of K-12? These are very unfortunate headlines. We've seen just a few weeks ago, the LA Unified School District was hit with a cyber attack. They are the latest large urban school district to be hit, but Chicago and New York have been hit. School districts all over the country, from West Coast to East Coast, charter schools, private schools, urban, rural. There's no school systems that are immune from these cyber attacks. And LA Unified actually did not pay the ransomware attacks. And a lot of that information, the private information that was attacked, was posted on the dark web. So this clearly is a very serious issue. When we're talking about sort of pain points from CIOs and superintendents, clearly budget and funding is always top of mind. When we're talking about the network, really since the pandemic, we've seen the attack surfaces increase many-fold. You know, every student has a device. They all bring that back to campus, multiple devices. So the attack the attack surface for these bad actors have increased many times since the pandemic. The business impact of breaches, there's been multiple studies that have done in terms of what are the business impact when there are ransomware attacks. And we've seen anywhere from $3 to $5 million per breach in terms of what it can cost the institution, from lost productivity to the disruption in learning. 60% of teachers and administrators haven't received any guidance or training tied to preventing cyber attacks. And that's really what our security training, free training, is designed to address. The Government Accounting Office just this week released a report, again, tied to K-12 and security. This is top of mind from policymakers from the federal government all the way down to state and local governments. And the GAO found that, again, officials from state and local entities reported that the loss of learning following a cyber attack ranged from 3 days to 3 weeks, and the recovery time anywhere from 2 to 9 months. Again, this is just highlighting the need to have this cybersecurity awareness training and have good cyber hygiene for your employees. Before we get into the crux of the webinar, just wanted to quickly talk about the funding stream. There's been various COVID relief bills, and they've all had dedicated funding for school districts, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3. ESSER 1, the deadline is passed, we know, as of just last month. The ESSER 2 deadline is until this time next year, and ESSER 3, schools have until 2024. School district, the Emergency Connectivity Fund, the deadlines have already come and gone. With ESSER, we are seeing, though, that school districts are utilizing these dollars for technology, for their networks. School districts literally cannot function without a safe, secure, robust network. And these ESSER funds are designed to keep school districts up and running through the pandemic, and making sure that there's a safe, secure, robust network is absolutely an allowable use, and actually it's a critical use for these dollars. And this is more of a reminder that these dollars are still available. Now, again, this is the Missouri utilization, but this is very representative of all the states, whether it's Minnesota or anywhere in the country. School districts have spent most of the CARES Act, and that, again, that deadline passed not too long ago. And school districts still have, can give or take, about 25% of their ESSER 2 funds remaining. And again, this is very representative, as schools have a ton of money in the American Rescue Plan, the ESSER 3 dollars we have until September 30th, 2024. And this is just a reminder that technology and upgrading your network and making sure it's safe and secure is an allowable expense going forward, making sure that that the technology leaders are able to capture some of these dollars. And this is just some specifics that technology and networks is called out in the ESSER law. And all of our solutions can be supported with the various federal funding that's available to you. So without further ado, I wanted to pass this on to Al for the specific conversation today about our free cybersecurity training.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Peter. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to do a couple of things. We're going to take you through the security awareness training service. So I'll describe what it is. And then I'm going to pass it on to Kyle. That's going to actually, he will actually give you a demo so you can see exactly what it looks like. But I want to start off on how we came about providing this offer to every school district. Back in the summer, we were invited to the White House for their National Cyber Workforce and Education Summit. There were a number of technology companies at the table. We obviously were one of those. And the event really focused on reducing the cybersecurity workforce. There's a big demand for cybersecurity workers in the US and globally. And also, how do we educate Americans so they are more cyber savvy and really understand cybersecurity? And finally, really, how do we improve diversity, equity, and inclusion in the industry? And, you know, part of our corporate social responsibility is to do all that. So what we decided to do is, as part of this education summit, we decided that we're going to make our new security awareness and training service available for free for every K-12 school district across the US. So that's potentially over 8 million staff and faculty members. So this is for all staff, teachers, administrators, principals, vice principals, people at the school district level. We are providing this free of charge. So it is quite a significant investment for us, but we are happy to see it. As you know, Peter was explaining, you saw the number of recent breaches. So there certainly are some significant issues out there today. So let me talk about the need, what's included in this service. I'll talk about the service, and then Kyle will give you a demo of the product as well. Just a survey from Gardner. In the last 12 months, the human element has been involved in 85% of the breaches. So it is a people issue, and nearly half of them, so 36% of those breaches were from phishing attacks. Phishing is an email, a bad email, someone sending a bad email that you click on, and that's how they can breach your system. So the human element is extremely important. That's why cybersecurity awareness training is very important for all staff, not just in the education sector, but just nationwide. So what's included in the service? Fortinet, we are a cybersecurity company. We have designed this by our security experts. Those of you that are familiar with NIST, we built it aligned to their standards. So we have a team within our training institute here at Fortinet. We now have, you know, over 170 people as part of our training institute. So we've developed this training. It is not in any way or any means a way to promote Fortinet and all our products. This is general cybersecurity awareness training for you and your staff. It's engaging. We have reinforcement resources like posters and screensavers and so on. Cybersecurity awareness should be top of mind for all your staff. So we've provided the tools that you can print out and make sure that it is top of mind. It's easy to administer and manage, and you'll see that once we provide the demo. You can monitor and report, so you can actually see who's gone through the training, where they're at, and create reports as well with the product. And then finally, you can even co-brand it as well. So we can actually have your school district logos as part of the program or on the screen as well. We have two versions of the program: our standard edition, which is 7 base modules, what we call 5 micro modules, and I'll explain those in a moment. And we have our premium edition, which has 16 additional modules. We are actually providing the premium edition of our program. So you are getting the full program that we have available to you. So there are the communication resources and the co-branding options all available for you. The other thing that we've done with the training, we've just recently completed this, but we've tailored it for the education sector. So as you can see, we've created graphics, lesson objectives, key concepts. So visually, we've tailored it, but we've also taken the content as well, and we've adjusted it specifically for the education sector. So we have done some tailoring specifically for the education sector. As I mentioned, these are just some of the communication resources that we have: posters, tip sheets, screensavers, banners. As I said, this should be top of mind. We should all be cyber aware and try and create this culture of cyber awareness within our organization. The key benefits of training, obviously to train your faculty and staff so they can recognize security threats, reduce the costs. This can be very costly. Peter had some examples there of the cost of a breach, not just shutting down your system, but ransomware and so on. This will prevent the impact of breaches caused by errors and poor judgment. And then most importantly, it really creates a security compliant culture as well. So quickly about the service, a couple of different things: building campaigns. You can actually, you'll see the screens here. These are actual screenshots. Provide training for the user. So each user would get their own screen. And then you can monitor the progress of your participants in the training program. So here are some of the features. There are a total of 23 modules. So these are all the learning modules. Each are anywhere between 8 and 10 minutes in duration. So you've got about 230 minutes of training here. There are 10 micro modules, which are review modules, which are a little bit shorter, and then nano learning videos as well. So we've incorporated videos and review modules as well. And then from administration and management perspective, you can plan and deploy the training. There's two-factor authentication, LDAP integration, and so on for those of you who are more technical, co-branding that I mentioned, and also reporting. So we've got standard reports available, but you can also customize those reports as well. And then of course, branding options as well with your logos, headers and in the background as well. These are the actual modules that we have. So there are 23 modules. So you can see some of the topics there on the left. We talk about bad actors, social engineering, phishing, and so on. And earlier I mentioned a campaign. Essentially what that means is you can take, for example, the first 5 of these modules and mandate your teachers, for example, to take all 5 modules, and you can specify a date. So you can say from November 1st to February 28th, you must complete these modules. So that's a campaign. For your principals, for example, maybe you want the first 10 plus one of the managers modules there towards the bottom. So you can customize your campaigns and then send them out accordingly. And these are the micro modules, so the review modules, and the nano videos, which are about a minute or less. So there are videos supporting the learning as well. And you really can't progress from one module to another unless you complete the questions successfully, and then you can move on. So these are just some of the areas that we cover: InfoSec awareness, data privacy, internet security, password protection. We even talk about physical security as well in a lot of these modules. And similar in the micro modules, we cover all these areas of topics as well. And then finally, some of the nano modules as well. And as I mentioned, you've got posters, tip sheets, and screensavers as well to try and maintain that culture of cybersecurity awareness. On the learner portal and administrative console, Kyle will touch on this. Here's an example of your learner screen where they can see which modules are assigned to them. They can see their status as they progress through all the modules. There are mandatory quizzes. It tells you which modules are overdue because you're given a certain amount of time and so on. And the administrator of the program can customize it. We have a number of existing templates as well. You can customize the program introduction message as well. And as I mentioned earlier, you can schedule the programs with a start and end date and due dates as well. So those are all some of the administrative features. The training, different styles. There's video, text, images. We all learn differently. So we make sure we incorporate all those different formats. There are interactive quizzes and knowledge checks and so on. So it is quite extensive. We've created it through our experts in the Fortinet Training Academy. We've actually certified over 1 million people worldwide on our technology and our industry certifications. We've been doing this for quite a while, so we do have a bit of expertise in developing training and certification. From the admin perspective, again, Kyle will probably touch on some of this. There's LDAP integration, single sign-on, two-factor authentication as well, so it is secure. The campaign builder, you can build a custom campaign with selected modules. We also have existing campaigns that you can use. There are reminders, course completion emails for learners, course certificate of completion as well for the learners. So all that is available. And then again, admin monitoring reporting. You can have reports for executives, individual campaign reports, overall completion rates, and so on. So you can get extensive reports, and these have become quite important as many organizations are mandating cybersecurity awareness training, a lot of times for insurance purposes as well. So it's great to have these reports that you're able to print out immediately. And then finally, we are constantly going to be updating our security awareness training. In fact, since our first edition back in April, we've already got about 3 or 4 different editions where we're adding different languages. We have Spanish available now as well. And then a number of other languages coming, like French and Italian and German and Portuguese. So those are all going to be available this quarter. But we will continue to design and develop the program, monitor the program, work with our customers, continue to re-engage with you and reinforce the learning. So it's an ongoing process. And in terms of next steps, Kyle is going to give you a demo. But what we'd also like to be able to do is offer you an opportunity to actually get your hands on the program and evaluate it for yourself. So it's pretty simple to do. All we would need is your name, email address, and organization, and then we can set up a demo or access to the actual 7 or 8 modules, so you can actually go through them and take a look for yourself. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kyle.
Okay.
Kyle, there you go.
Can you see my screen now?
Now we can.
Perfect.
Are there any questions before Kyle goes through a demo? No? Okay.
Okay. So basically what we're looking at here is the learner's landing page with one distinct difference, and that is this Launch Admin Portal button. The only reason we're seeing that is because I'm logged in with a tenant administrator account. But every student that logs in will see everything the same. So any training that's been assigned to them, you can see that this particular user has been assigned 3 training campaigns. Some are in progress. They've completed some modules and some and not in others. They can easily also go back and look at completed modules. So if I want to go back and review material that I took on a previous course, or even go in and look at the quiz and what I got right and what I got wrong, I can always go back and review that as well. So not only do they have access to the ongoing current training, both from the home page and from here, they have access to the older training. They can also go in here and, if you're using the default single sign-on solution provided by us that has a Fortinet login screen, they can go in and change their password here. We recommend you set up single sign-on for your organization, but they can also change their language from here. They can get more real estate just by skinning up their, once they get used to the icons on the main page. We're not going to go through, obviously, each one of these. We have both K-12 and non-K-12 specific content that pretty much covers the exact same content. Again, as Al said, some have been catered to use more of an education system language or school language. But for each one of the modules, we go through introductory videos and talk about what we're going to cover, what your lesson objectives are, and then we'll cover key concepts and terms throughout the different modules. The learners are going to have to pick answers. Again, they could be multiple choice, they could be match term with definition, could be click hotspots to find out more information on a screen. And after they've completed all the modules, they'll then be able to go and take the quiz, and they must achieve a certain score in that quiz in order to complete that module and be able to continue on to complete the next module. So you can see I can't go any further here until I complete this clean desk module. So again, we're not going to spend a lot of time here other than to show it's very clean. It's hard for users to get lost. It's basically just to go in and take the training and finish it. From the avatar over here, again, we can access the settings menu. Profile menu just gives you the email and first name, last name. We can log out, and because this is the administrator that has the launch admin portal, they also have an item here. This takes us into the actual administration piece. So this is where we go in to configure the service, and this is where we would go in to set up new campaigns and assign students or remove students, things like that. So what we'll do is we'll start with just a brief look at the landing page. So this is an overview of all the campaigns. Then we'll get into the configuration piece. Then we'll come back out and we'll actually create a campaign and walk through the remediation. Sounds like a lot. It won't take us that long to go through. Basically, think of this as potentially a school issued service. What we've been doing so far is at the district level. So the district will actually set the service up. We have one case where it's a third-party service provider that is setting it up for the districts and the schools. And so the district's going to have one of these sites, and some of the schools may have their own. So we can support different hybrid models when it comes to sort of a management, but we'll ask questions before you get that far to find out maybe what we should offer up as potential paths forward. So landing page for the administrator, we come in, we see first right off the top, an overview of all the currently running campaigns. So we currently have 5 active campaigns running right now. We may have more campaigns in the system that are just templates or that have been archived or that have already passed their end date. But right now we have 5 that are currently ongoing between the start and the scheduled end date of the campaign. And across those 5 campaigns, we have a total of 7 unique students. Now, this is just a test system. So again, not a lot of information. We see the overall completion rate again for the 5 campaigns and the overall progress rate for the 5 campaigns. And by default, we've tied an escalation remediation rule that just says within a campaign, when someone's doing one of the modules, if they fail a quiz 3 times or more, then increase this percentage rate and send emails off to their manager and potentially to them. We'll talk about that when we get into creating our own campaign. But you can choose what actually causes this escalate to rise, what the criteria is. If we scroll down a little further, we can get a little more of a deep dive into each of the campaigns. So we know this one has 3 modules, and we can see probably one student has completed all 3 modules. But we can do a little bit deeper look into which modules are part of that and how far along them the users are within those. And of course, we can see our end dates and everything else in there. And if we go to the very bottom of this page, this section is actually tied into a separate service, which is not part of the free K-12 offering, but it's a phishing simulator. And basically, we take some of the metadata from that service if you have it configured, and then we can cause remediation events, like if someone opens and clicks a link in an email, then make them take these 3 nano modules. And if they actually open and click the email and enter their username and password and hit submit, then assign them these three big modules, send an email to security, an email to their manager, an email to them, to warn them that they've been, caught in a phishing attack, or whatever you want to take as, an event, and whoever you want to notify, that can be configured in the remediation events as well. So just because it's on the screen here, we wanted to bring that up. We do have some of the districts looking at potentially purchasing a license for that because it ties in so nicely. So that's the landing page. Again, a good, clean, high-level overview of where all your campaigns are. Probably you're not going to have hundreds of campaigns running all at once. So let's talk about the configuration next. And this is where we really need to decide how we want to deploy the service. So what I guess every district so far largely is doing is the district is setting the service up, and they have a website that all of the staff logs into to provide that district staff with information or whatever they happen to provide on that site. So they have a single sign-on solution, and they have emails for the district staff. So what they do is they come in here and they put that email domain in here and select add, and it generates token. And this has to be done for every email domain that you want to send invitations for training to. It's the same as most systems out there. You have to prove that you own the email domain before you can start inviting people to your training from it. So if they have multiple domains in a school or district, you may see multiple entries here, and multiple DNS text records would have to be created, one for each token and domain that they want to register. The next step would be, great, so we've got myschooldistrict.com registered here. I probably want to put like securitytraining.myschooldistrict.com as my learning domain. So you would type in whatever you want to add to your domain in here and register it, and then you would again provide the subdomain and the IP address to your network administrator, and they would go and create an A record for that. So that's 2 steps that are required. We could, at the district level, let's assume every school had its own email domain. Well, the district level could put all of these school email domains in here and have the schools create DNS text records. It really depends on where your data is stored and how you intend to, and where you intend to invite your learners from. So that's what's got to be done before we can get any users in the system, is verify we own email domains and set up some learning domains. The next thing I would recommend we look at is the single sign-on solution. So by default right now, if you don't set up a single sign-on solution, so when you go to your district's web page, they probably have a username and password that allows you to access all the resources and everything that's on there. Single sign-on, we support SAML 2 single sign-on. So the district, let's say that in this example, the district is setting this up, they would point this at that single sign-on solution. And that means you're not going to see the Fortinet email account come to you, and you're not going to see a Fortinet login page, because you're using, a challenge and response that the user is already familiar with. Always a best practice. We don't want to give them another username and password to remember. So once we've got our domains registered, we've got our single sign-on set up, we probably want to go in and change the appearance. So we can change, this to be the district logo. The login screen, we can change the background and logo. We can change the favorite icon, and then we can change the colors to the district colors for the navigation bar, the primary buttons, and any links. Once we get that done, just to show you those posters and things that Al were talking about are all available here. The first time you come in here and access this, you'll see a little, you have to subscribe and you click a button and then this opens up. And then depending on the level of licensing, again, you get premium. You can see we've got specific K-12 assets there. But all of that stuff will show up in the assets section. So the last thing, once you've got all of this set up, if you want to review your licensing and everything that's in here, how many licenses you have, how many you've used, start date and date of your term, level of service will always be premium. You can see that from there. But once we've done all that, the next thing is to get our users in. Probably not going to add them one at a time through this form. We're probably going to export them from an HR system and basically want to import them into the system. So for smaller places or people that don't want to open up access to their Active Directory or open a firewall rule, they could export the data out. They have to keep these column headers, but we're basically looking for first name, last name, email. Again, the email address has to be one of the verified domains. It must end in that verified domain, and the manager email. So if these three people reported to manager@example.com, well, that manager is going to have an entry here as well. But this is how we send out remediation emails and help with reporting and things like that. You don't have to fill this out, but you'll lose that functionality if not populated here. You have to go in and set the person you want to send it to every time. These two columns are a little bit more flexible. So while you cannot change these column headers, a school district and department may not want to put the department in there. They may want to put the school in there. And they may want to put the title here or the department here, or maybe they want to keep this as the department and put the school here. The important thing to understand that is these are the two fields that are going to allow you to assign training and report on that training and set remediation for that training or set remediation events. So while you don't have to map the data to this description, you need to keep in mind that whatever is in here is how you're going to assign your training in the drop downs. And the same is true with the Active Directory piece. So I'm just going to jump over a different tenant. So basically, same thing. Let's just pretend it's a different customer, a different site, because I have an actual LDAP configuration on this one. So if we have a system and we can get a firewall ACL or a firewall rule opened up to allow traffic from our service in to harvest the Active Directory content, then we'll basically give it a friendly name. We can either use the IP address or the FQDN of the server. What is our bind point? So we're going to start looking for users under this RDN or under this section of the directory. This has to be very specific, and you should test this before you configure this to make sure you're getting the right users and the right number of users back using a third-party piece of software. Like you can use Softair. There's tons of others out there where you can pump in, different search filters to make sure you're getting the right data. Whatever port your directory is listening on, your Active Directory username, DN, and password, and then whether we're connecting using LDAP or LDAP-S. Here's where we pull the data. So first name is going to come from the given name attribute in the directory. Last name is surname, male. And here you can see I didn't actually map the department in my drop down in the software. I mapped it to company because this is the information that I want to assign training on. So like the spreadsheet, the title and department monikers, you may be mapping them to different attributes if that's what it makes sense for assignment of training. That's pretty much all of the configuration pieces. It doesn't take long to configure, especially if we help you with it. You might have to wait for your DNS text records and your A records to be created by whoever your network administrator is, or maybe you don't. We can do it right on a call with you. So let's go back up and look at, well, let's talk about creating a campaign. And you can see there's a lot of campaigns on this particular site. The dashboard has 18 running right now. It's a lot. But if we wanted to create a new campaign, we have a wizard for this. Before we go into that, I will just show you that on this there's a lot more information than the dashboard. So we can actually go in and very quickly tell which modules are assigned to each one of these, or we can go in and adjust which learners are assigned to the training and report on them based on their status and the current module. We can go in and remove them if need be. Let's say someone, won't take that person away, but let's say Charlie no longer works with us or moved to another district. We may want to remove him from there. And we can enroll new people. Now it'll only show people that aren't currently assigned. Everyone's currently assigned, so we're not getting anyone on the pick list. To create a new campaign, again, we keep it templated. So we start with, first of all, do I want to use an existing template? So the software comes preloaded with non-K-12 kind of modules or groupings of topics, but it also comes with K-12 specific groupings of topics. And then anytime I create a training campaign, I'm either going to use an existing template or I'm going to create my own. And every time I do, it creates a new template here that I can have for future use. But let's say I don't want to use any of the pre-configured templates or groupings of topics, then I want to create a new template. The first thing I'm going to do is select my modules. So what information do I want to include in this particular training? I might look at, what information do they need? I may not want to run, because some of these mods, or most of these modules are 8 to 10 minutes, I may not want to give them 20 modules. So might want to run them in smaller groupings every 2 or 3 months or something like that, or mid-sized groupings once a semester or something like that. But I'm basically going to go in and pick the topics that I want to include in this particular training. So let's go for the full modules. We'll just pick 3 here. Now, again, every time we create new content, we're also creating a template. So I should give this template something meaningful. Oops, spelling. So this template, the next time I come in, I could use this template again. I'm actually going to run a copy of this template in my current campaign. So I may want to make this a little more meaningful, like something like this. So this is the instance of my template, and this instance is going to start today. There's 3 modules, so I think I'll give them 2 weeks to do the training. So I'm going to communicate their end date as the 9th of November, but we know that not everyone's going to finish by then. So I'm also going to pad in an extra week so that for the learners that don't make it to their communicated due date, I can chase them for another week to get this training done. And now I can begin my setup, and a very simple 3-tab setup. The first tab is already mostly filled out because it's got the dates we just chose. It's got the template that we picked. We've got the instance template up here. This is the template it's based on. And I can, add a welcome message that will show up. And the learners will see that. Here's where either that, the spreadsheet column for department or title is going to be populated by independent values or single values within there. So I can, I can pick these more than one if I want, or I can go by whatever was in the title attribute or the title piece of the spreadsheet. You can have multiple LDAP entries to different locations in the same directory or to different directories. You could also use spreadsheets to upload users as well. You can have a hybrid of both. So we really want to talk and understand your environment before we get to this level of configuration. But again, this is what is in the titles, the unique values. So that's what I'm getting from those pick lists. So I'm just going to pick all my department assigned values. And now we can actually use canned emails, which you can't modify, but are quick and easy because it's a quick wizard. Send an email when someone's assigned training. Send an email when that due date is up. Again, that's the second date they've been communicated as the actual. They think it's the actual end date, but this is the end date. as far as we know it. We do need to turn this on for K-12 because this sends an email that includes the certificate that they can save or print off. So while you don't have to use these two, and you can actually create your own remediation events, and that will allow you to customize what's in the email, this one needs to be turned on for the certificate. Before we launch or save, there's two more things we provide that are quick and easy for most companies that'll work, is to use the canned report. We can't change the content, we can change the frequency, we can change who is going to receive this report based on that frequency, and I can put multiple values in here, but it has to be someone from the directory or uploaded within that spreadsheet. And I can't change the content or type. I'll save my report settings. We talked about that escalation rate and remediation rules. These are the ones that come again as part of the template very quickly. Send an email to the manager saying, hey, user X is struggling with content Y. They failed their quiz 3 times. And this goes to the student saying, you know, you failed the quiz 3 times. Maybe you should go back and review the material before attempting again. But again, we don't have to use these. We can create our own remediation rule, which we'll walk you through in just a second. So we've got that all done now. I'm actually going to launch this campaign because it's all set up and ready to go. I don't know if that click took or not. I'll click once more. There we go. I go to my dashboard. I've got 19 campaigns now. I'm not sure if this guy got assigned, if that new campaign is there, but let's scroll down to the bottom. Not sure if this is the one we assigned today, but if you click there, you can see that this is that description we just put in the description and our content, dates, everything else. Again, let's go back, take a quick look at remediation. So let's say we didn't want to use those canned emails. Well, how would I create my own email? We could say email invite for campaign, and I'd have to know that name. I'm going to save that. And basically, I wanted to assign training based on a campaign when a user's allocated. And the campaign I'm talking about is that guy I just created. So I'll save that. And my action is send a notification to the matching users. And here's where we could put in our logo and URLs and instructions and all that good stuff. We can customize it a lot more for that remediation. We talked about the 4 to fish. You could make things happen if someone opened and clicked an email. Well, again, very easy to get that here. User clicked. Now, if it was when they clicked on it, you would pick the 4 to fish campaign that's part of, save it. And then you could choose actions like, okay, they clicked on something. I'm going to escalate it. So it's going to go off. Make them take a campaign or whatever. Escalate, send emails, assign them campaigns, make them take training. Again, so we can set actions to occur from there. Reporting, same thing. If we don't like the canned report that comes with a campaign, they've made it very easy and intuitive. You come in here, give your report a meaningful name, and then you can just select from the types of content. So let's take this campaign user allocation and completion, which basically shows all users the campaigns in, how far along they are, their progress. So now I get that content, I can get rid of stuff if I don't need it. And I can reorder columns. I can add in columns, preview the data, and then download a different, also create filters to get skinny up on the details you want. But again, very intuitive, very easy to use when it comes to creating reports. That is the nickel tour, the quick half-hour run through of the configuration and usage of the system. Just to let you know, there is a help desk also that comes with this product dedicated, and you can get to it right from within the admin interface. You can search articles on how to configure, get your DNS records or verify them, or get the IP addresses for the LDAP server if you need to open a firewall. And typing anything will bring you right to the article. You can also open tickets with us from there as we go through. And we are here. If you purchase, you're going to get a PO issued. We get an email, a case gets created. We reach out immediately to say, can we help you go through creating your initial FortiCare account, your support account, initializing the service, walking you through the steps to actually configure a lot of this stuff. Most times we do it right on the phone with the customer and we're done within half an hour, and then we just walk them through the rest of it. So we're here to help and make you successful.
Great. Thank you, Kyle. And just quickly, for those of you who are interested in taking a look at the program or the security awareness training, you can send me an email directly if you want to review it. I'm going to put my email address in the chat. And we can give you access so you can take a look at the content and see how extensive it really is. And as Kyle just mentioned, we're here to help you implement it and make sure that you're successful. And again, this is absolutely free. So we are making it available to you. And just a bit of a teaser of what's coming forward. We just started the development of K-12 content for students. So we're going to make security awareness for kids as young as grade 1 level, and we'll make the curriculum progressive as the years go on. We'll also provide teacher supplementary material that they can enforce the learning in the classroom as well. So that's all coming. We hope to have that next summer completed. So that'll be made available for your schools and your teachers as well. And there'll be parent modules as well. So, we're taking this quite seriously. So we want to make sure that everyone is educated starting at a young age as well. Okay. Any questions at all about the service?
Al, it's Kevin Grover, International Falls.
Yes.
Just, and obviously that, or I should say, this is a loaded question. There's a ton of information.
Yeah.
By the looks, but like say a basic teacher training campaign, like 7 modules or 5 modules or whatever. What type of time frame are we looking? Like, would that take, kind of a year's length? I mean, like with layouts, I mean, to sit down for 7 hours a day, on a training, that would be tough.
No, absolutely. Great. I mean, great question. There are 23 modules. They're each 8 to 10 minutes in duration. So in total, you've got about 230 minutes. So you've got, 4 hours of training is what you have. So, if you assign 3 or 4 modules at a time, I would expect a teacher can get through it very quickly. So that's kind of the duration of the training. So it's probably not a lot of extra work for them. So they should be able to complete 5 or 6 modules fairly quickly.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's a question here. FortiFish. Kyle did mention FortiFish. That's our phishing simulation software. That is not included in this particular service. It is an add-on. There is a fee for that phishing component. You can certainly talk to your sales reps at Fortinet. We can certainly, look at pricing to make sure it's attractive and affordable for your school districts. Any other questions? Great. So once again, if you didn't want to have access, please send me an email directly and we will set you up. We greatly appreciate your time and giving us the opportunity today. Thank you.
just want to mention to folks what Al's talking about is the demo server that you'll be added will just give you the 7 base modules so you can view as a student. You won't have access to any of the admin stuff through the invitation that he's talking about.
Great. Thanks, Kyle. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.